Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. We now have our first ever balance patch for Tekken 8. And of course, in this video, we're going to go through all the major changes. Some were just bug fixes, so, expected, that's how patches work. And some of the balance changes were things where, well, I don't know. I was expecting some of these to go the way of the dodo, and sure enough, they did. Now that said, before we get into it, one very important note is this is a round 1 balance patch. We do have this tweet. This is from one of the producers of Tekken 8 here, and saying after the patch we will continue to address unintended behaviors and investigate and verify any issues reported. So things that are talked about here are things like Victor's throw escape window. If you're unaware, his base grab has a smaller tech window than like every other throw in the game. So if you've struggled teching Victor's throws, now you know why. And other things like, say, King's chain grabs. I'm sure at this point you're very aware if you hit a throw during like a defensive or armored move, you'll get an unbreakable grab. However, how it currently works, if you hit a chain grab in this window, the entire chain grab becomes untechable. You don't get to break any part of it. So things like rolling death cradle become guaranteed if you see that initial flash, which is apparently not intended. So not patched out just yet, but look for another patch in the future to deal with it. But that said, now let's deal with the patch we do have. If you check the video description, I'll give you a link so you can check the notes yourself. But let's talk about the major balance changes in the patch. Once again, some things are just bug fixes, right? So we'll just skip over those. But the major balance changes, let's talk about them. So Devil Jin, Hell Sweep took a big hit. One, Hell Sweep does not quite have the range it did at the start, at launch here. So you got to be a lot closer if you want that sweet spot, right? And also the damage it does. The initial hit here, the initial damage is a fair bit less. Before, just the sweep into the laser used to do 24 damage. Now it does 16. And consequently, any combo you're going to be doing that much less. Like this used to do 49 damage, right? But now since the initial hit's much less, then the overall combo is going to go. So it still does very good damage for a Hell Sweep, but it doesn't do like wildly, insanely the most damage. Like overwhelmingly so. So I still think it's a very good move, just not too crazy. Also, the other nerf here, Morning Crow. So that's the mini fly stance here. Morning Crow 1. So Morning Crow 1 is less active frames because the idea was, 2 with the move that's like homing, right? That's supposed to be the one that catches sidesteps, except this could catch sidesteps too a little bit, so kind of working better than intended, right? So less active frames, so it can't catch sidesteps as well. And also, just kind of damage reductions here. So now does 20 damage, used to do 25, and also now does less chip damage. Still does respectable chip damage, but definitely less chip damage. So I guess the boy was overperforming, and this just tones him down just a little bit. And hey, speaking as someone who's been overperforming a little bit here, so Dragunov, some of his more extreme aspects have been curtailed a little bit here. So say his Sneak Stance 4 specifically, one of the newcomer moves, very powerful. So Sneak Stance 4 is still very advantage on block, still deals chip damage as well. However, you may have already noticed the pushback is now a fair bit more extreme than it was, because after he could get those plus frames on you, he can kind of put you up into some pretty messed up situations. And now with the pushback, and also it does a little bit less chip damage on block, although it's still heavily plus. But with the increased pushback, he can't terrorize you as easily as he did before. On that note, down 3-2. So down 3-2 is now more negative on hit and more negative on block. So on block, down 3-2 is now -8. It used to be -6. And on hit, it was originally +8, and now it is +6. Once again, this is kind of to curtail his overwhelming offense and offensive options that he had. Now for up 4 and all the variants, up, back, up, forward, all that kind of stuff, right? So buff and nerf. So he's now like kind of directly level with the enemy when facing the enemy, like when they're down. So combos that can like hit, like it's just going to be more consistent across the board, right? So that's good. You can get your good stuff, go from there, right? But the opponent does hit the ground earlier, if you will, which just effectively means like you can still get combos, but you can't get like the real big power combos the same way. So it's easier to get the combos you could already get just because he faces a little bit better with the enemy when they're down, because it does change the axis a little bit, right? But does less overall damage. Like, this move is completely safe on block with evasive built-in mechanics, right? Because it's jumping, right? So it's still a really good move. Just basically your overall most optimal effective damage will be curtailed a little bit, but the everything else will be easier. Now, Jack, if you know, you know, this is the one we all expected. And that has to do with back 1-2. So back 1-2, specifically when done in a combo, you can now back roll out of it. Why this is important is because, generally speaking beforehand, any given combo ending in back 1-2 would guarantee the blue spark version of the one uppercut. And what's kind of messed up about that was it's mostly unscaled damage. Like, if I hit you here, it would do 28 damage because you're grounded. You do 80% of the raw damage, 28 damage. And even if you did like the easy version of the move, like the non-perfect version, still 24, like, so it's easy to do, right? And he can get that off every combo, basically anything touching a wall. Like, he would just get 28 or 24 unscaled mostly damage off every combo. And that meant his combo damage effectively was absurd. So to give an example here real quick, and we'll use the record feature too, because that's going to save us some time. So I get you on the wall, right? And then from there, I'll make sure I'll just do like back 1, so you're good up on the wall. Then back 1-2, we did 71 damage. So 71 here. Plus 28. Oh, that's 99 damage, right? That's too much damage. That's much too much for like the most basic just DF2 launcher, right? So now how this works, if you're any kind of airborne when the back 1-2 hits you, or if you're on the wall or whatever, you can just do a back roll. So what is a back roll? Back roll is literally just holding back. And you'll roll out of the way. So now in this scenario, you just get the block. And being negative 17, you get whatever punish you want, right? So that like ridiculous guaranteed damage is gone. There is now counterplay to it. You can just simply hold back. Whatever controller, doesn't matter. You could do with quick roll, wake up. You still can't do any of the other wake ups. Like, it has to be the back quick roll. So no teching to the sides, none of the traditional options here, like stand up, backward, like that. All that stuff still doesn't work. It has to be a back roll. But now, if you know, you can get out easily. And like, don't cry for Jack. Like, he's got the guaranteed damage, right? Like, very easy guaranteed damage, just not as insane as it was before. So he's good. Now, that said, let's move on to Jun, who has a very similar nerf. So Jun, like Jack, had frankly unfair wall damage. So just for an example combo to bring us to the wall. Okay, that's a good record point here. So nice and easy wall splat, right? So now we have easy access to the wall, and that's really good. That's all well and good, right? So we had a whole video on this on the channel, actually, talking about Jun and how like certain aspects of Jun are messed up. One of them being the corner damage, and it was thanks to this string specifically. 4-4-3, 3+4, this guy right here. And you just hit that on the wall, and it would force a very specific style of knockdown, and from there, you could just do that string, and then 1+2 was guaranteed. And just like Jack, because it was technically hitting them grounded, it would barely scale at all. I'll show you an example here. So it would just add 20 raw damage to whatever you were doing. So this combo did 79 damage, then it would do 99 damage, right? And of course, depending on your combo, you can break 100 with this. So now that's a no-go. You can see here, they got plenty of time to block. And even if they don't roll right away or whatever, they just stay grounded, it is just simply not guaranteed anymore regardless. So no matter what, it's not a free hit anymore. Like, you can still get hits. You can still get your stuff in, right? Like, there's still plenty of options for Jun, but like, frankly, unfair, guaranteed, mega near unscaled damage at the end of the combo, that's just a hill too far. So her, like Jack, got nerfed in the exact same way. Although Jun has one other nerf. Specifically, up forward 1, the 10-frame mega slap that drains a lot of her health, but does like the most damage of a 10-framer in the game. The hit reaction has changed to change some of her combo ability, because once again, just certain situations where she could just do too much damage. So that is now curtailed. I think you will find Jun is still going to be one of the best characters in the game, even after these nerfs, because she has too many overwhelming strengths, as mentioned in that other Jun video, right? So It sucks, I guess, if you're playing Jun, but man, like, don't quit the character, please. Don't cry on Twitter. She's garbage. Like, she's perfectly good and much better than most of the rest of the cast. You're good to go. Don't worry. Now, Leo nerfs are kind of in line just to make them, I don't know, a little less silly, a little less spamble. Like back 1+2. So big old mid here into the shoulder. And this is now -12 on block if it connects as a move that is blocked. So it used to be safe on block. It used to be -9. So for a move that covers the rough amount of space it does, because it's a lot, like it can hit from about roughly this far away, like about 2 character lengths away. I don't know, I guess they just thought it was a bit too much for it to be completely safe. So now if blocked, you'll eat a tiny small punish. Also back 3-1, same deal. So back 3-1, there's another quick mid is now -10 on block. So it used to be safe on block as well. Now it is like, you know, just like jab punishable. This is also one of the moves that uses Leo's unique mechanic. So if it connects and you have the mechanic up, you have the buff up, you get a fair bit of damage, right? So now just barely punishable. And I guess they just thought these moves were too stupid and too spamble. That's the logic they gave in the patch notes anyways. And it's not that big of a deal in the end. It doesn't really affect Leo's core structure, so make of it what you will. Now, Leroy got nerfed again. You think the man has done his time. Like, I know back in the day, he ran Tekken 7 for a bit, but he's been nerfed a lot, and we got one nerf for you. So that's specifically back 3-4. This guy, the big boot, that has the canned hit throw animation, which is really sick, by the way. So what happened here, the nerf to this bad boy is simply just pushback on block. So before, the pushback on block was actually kind of immense, and now you're just kind of directly on top of them. So -14, certainly punishable. The frame data hasn't changed, but before with the intense pushback, certain characters like had extreme difficulty touching Leroy at all, right? Like he could basically just kind of get away with it, and there was like no recourse, no counterplay. So now there's effectively little to no pushback. He's in your face, so you can get whatever punish you're going to get if it's blocked. So reasonable, fair enough, I guess. That is the nerf for Leroy. Now, Nina's change has to do with forward 4 specifically. So this is a nerf, but let me read to you as it's written. Adjusted the timing for the opponent to be able to block by 2 frames when hit from the front and side. So basically, what this really means is this move, very long range move, very good move, by the way, because it is a step cancelable move, which is a big deal for her. And on hit, very plus. And even on block, even if you block this move and you step it, it's still plus, right? So it's very good. If you hit this move later in the active frames, so like not point blank, but like from further away, and then you did a step cancel and you did step cancel 2, which is a launcher. If you hit later in the active frames, it would change the numbers. So this would be a natural combo. So you could like just hit and sidestep cancel and like hit confirm. If you saw it connect at all, cool. Sidestep cancel, free launcher, right? Which is more than a little messed up. A lot of these things that are changed are like just simply overwhelming character strengths. Nina still has a lot of cool things, a lot of great things. But for this now, it doesn't matter really how late you hit it in the active frames. If it hits in the later active frame, you still don't get a natural combo. So no free hit confirmable launches from like half the screen away, basically. But don't worry, you can still do all the usual silly stance cancel stuff. All that's still there. But yeah, just no more mid-screen launchers. Now, Reina, she had like an old legacy issue, I guess. She could not wave dash from like the full screen away. If she tried to wave dash, she would like start running partway through. And it's basically a bug fix, right? But now you can wave dash to your heart's content from full screen. Don't worry about it. That's good to go. The actual nerf has to do with the electric War God kick. So this is their kick version of the electric, right? So what's different here specifically is there's much less pushback on block. So similar to like that Leroy change, right? So the move, ideally, like it's not meant to be like a proper electric, like that's advantage. Like it is negative, right? You're supposed to lose your turn, but with the initial pushback, if you lost your turn, but the enemy's pushed back far away, like you don't really feel the consequences of getting blocked. Now, you're in their face on block, so you got to deal with it. Also, Reina does not count as crouching as long as she did before, so she can be hit by moves she couldn't be hit by before now, just to kind of make it more even. Also, before, the move could not be hit by reversals. Now, it can be hit by reversals. So, just kind of keeping in line with, like, you know, normal kicks and punches, right? So nothing like terrible, really, just kind of bringing moves in line the way they should have been to begin with. So fair enough. Like, don't worry, Reina's still fine. And as for everything else, effectively bug fixes or like just little combo issues, mostly affecting with the bears because the bears are weird, right? But yeah, so that's your first balance patch for the game. Mostly just kind of to tone down a lot of the overwhelming elements of the game. Certain characters like Jack and Jun, they just did too much damage, right? Everyone knew it, so brought down a little bit. And as mentioned at the start of the video, there will be another patch kind of in the future with more things they've identified. But for now, this is the first balance patch. So I don't think we're going to be like, you know, a balance patch every 2 weeks or something like that. But I like that they're on the ball, things that obviously need to go. This isn't like, you know, like say Street Fighter 6 is an all new game, right? This is a legacy game. You know what's kind of good or what's bad out of the gate and what's extra bad out of the gate sometimes, right? So I think they're making a smart call just doing a patch this early on. And that said, well, that's it for the video. Once again, if you want to see all the patch notes for yourself, check the video description. So all the things we didn't cover here, like say the bug fixes and all that, it's all there for you. And otherwise, well, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Tekken.